Hey, what's going on, everybody? So just wanted to talk real quick about the Vampire Templar build. Now, originally I was going to do a Nightblade Vampire, and the key thing with Vampire is uh I like the passives that you get as a vampire, but a big negative is the vampire stages. So at Vampire Stage 4, it completely removes all of your health recovery. So when I approach the vampire skills, the vampire being a vampire in general, as a Nightblade, I felt like I couldn't really do what I wanted to actually do, which was to make up for the fact that I had absolutely no health recovery at all. I found it much easier to make up the lack of health recovery with the Templar. And so the first thing I want to cover is that I am a hybrid. So I put 43 points with the attribute points into Magicka and 21 into Stamina because I run dual wield daggers and a lightning staff. So front bar is my lightning staff, back bar is my dual wield. And I approached this like, okay, I'm already a huge fan of any healing ability that does damage, any damaging ability that heals you, and any shield that does damage, any shield that heals you. I like those abilities that provide more than one thing. And so when I approached this character, the first thing I worked on was, okay, I don't have any health regeneration at Vampire Stage 4. What abilities can I use that damage the enemy but also heal me? So the first two, I ended up settling for Bloodthirst and Blood Craze. Both come from the dual wield skill line, the first two skills you get, and the morphs of Flurry and Twin Slashes. And I really like these because whatever little bit of health, once we get into the build more, you'll understand what I mean by this, but the little bit of health that I lose, I can recover pretty easily using these two abilities. I also can dictate while I'm fighting any enemies when I switch back over to the second bar. I make sure to work these in somewhere. And so, okay, what I mean is the first two abilities, these both heal. Then from the Restoring Light skill line from the Templar, we went with Repentance, because there's a couple weaknesses with this build and being a vampire and stuff like that. The first one being the health regeneration, it's non-existent, but also the stamina. You lose a pretty good amount of stamina when running any stamina based skills, and I absolutely love this ability. It's one of my favorites because not only does it give me 3,000 health per corpse on the ground, but it also restores 3,000 stamina. So I absolutely recommend also having that. And all I have to do is just have a corpse somewhere on the ground. If I have like 5 corpses on the ground, it doesn't matter how much health I'm missing, how much stamina I'm missing. I get all my health and stamina back really quickly just by pressing this 1 or 2 times and activating this Repentance. All of my health and stamina is right back again. Really nice. And then on the front bar, we went with the Drain Vigor. This is also a healing ability that damages and regenerates stamina. So I have another ability to regenerate stamina. Because with this build, I really don't have any problem at all running out of magicka. That's not a concern. It's the stamina that's the concern, because not only are those some of my attacks, but I roll dodge, I break free when I'm stunned, stuff like that also consume stamina. So I actually burn through stamina a lot quicker than I do magicka, and I can sustain my magicka with absolutely no problem, because like with my sorcerer, my number one main attack is my lightning staff heavy attack. I eventually go to that as the main attack, and at the end of every heavy attack you regenerate magicka, so it's really nice. with stamina abilities, when you're trying to attack with a heavy attack to regenerate stamina, sometimes it misses, sometimes the enemy moves too quickly out of your range, so sometimes your heavy attacks are going to miss, and then you just wasted time when you could have been activating something else or using something else. And especially something like the lightning staff or any of the staves, the flame staff, the frost staff, they can hit an enemy while they're backing up. So I tend to prefer ranged weapons over melee weapons because sometimes they miss, and then I just wasted time because I didn't get that stamina regeneration that I was looking for. But then we have Drain Vigor. That's from the Vampire skill lines, the third skill down. The Morph of Vampiric Drain. Absolutely love this. And then finally, when the enemy's health starts to get below 50%, we went with Radiant Destruction from Dawn's Wrath, the final one. We went with the Radiant Glory Morph. Now, this is an execute that regenerates some health. So, in the end, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abilities that can all damage and heal you, or regenerate health and stamina. And this one regenerates health and stamina. So the two weaknesses are being addressed in this build. And then I went even further and I was like, okay, if my lightning staff heavy attack is going to be my main attack, I need to increase the power of that. So on the front bar, on the back bar is actually what I start the combat with, because I want to activate the Flying Blade from the dual wield skill line, the final ability. I want to activate the Flying Blade, and I want to activate the Solar Barrage from Dawn's Wrath, the second ability down. Now, the reason that I want to do that is this grants 20% weapon and spell damage, and this grants 22 seconds of Empower. So once I switch over here and I start Lightning Staff heavy attacking, the Lightning Staff heavy attack is going to be pretty powerful, because I'm having that boost in 20% weapon and spell damage, and I have Empower going. But then on the front bar, which is what I switch to, after I throw out at least one Flying Blade, I'll throw out a couple of these, like one Blood Craze and one Bloodthirst at first, just to kind of put a little bit of damage on them, heal for anything that I might have been hit with. By the time that I cast two of these, so the first one hits the enemy, the second time I cast that, it puts me right in their face. So chances are I probably got hit with something by that time, by the time I'm in their face. And so I throw out the Blood Craze and the Bloodthirst, both healing me for whatever health that I lost right there. But this one also provides bleed. So they're taking 8,520 bleed damage over 20 seconds, which is really, really nice. But I activate two Flying Blades. First one to activate the weapon and spell damage, the second one to get in their face. Throw out the Blood Craze, the Bloodthirst, then activate the Solar Barrage. I really like this ability. It basically hits enemy in an area around you. So besides the fact that it grants me Empower, I actually do like what it does. It's like a flame burst and hits enemies around me. So really like that. For now, I ignore this ability and I switch over to my front bar. I cast the Vampire's Bane, which is the very first ability you get in Dawn's Wrath. I cast that ability, so I get that increase to weapon and critical by 2629. Then I cast the Living Dark. Really, really like this ability. It's a sphere that goes over my character, and if the enemy hits me, their movement speed is reduced, and it also heals me. So we have another heal. So we have a damaging heal, a ability that regenerates health and stamina if there's any corpses on the ground. Then we have a damaging heal that also regenerates stamina, and an execute damaging heal. Then we have the Living Dark. You cast that. If they hit you, you can regen some health. But then this is by far the most important ability. if you've watched my previous videos, you know that shield sustain is a big, very important part of almost all of my builds. And so I try to sustain this at all times constantly. And so how the attacks usually go, let's say we're running a boss encounter, I'll throw one flying blade, then another one to get in the boss's face. I'll cast the Blood Craze and Bloodthirst, then I'll cast the Solar Barrage. I'll switch over to the Lightning Staff, cast the Vampire's Bane, cast the Living Dark, and then the Bone Shield. Now by this time you're taking a little bit of damage, but it's not horrible. So usually I'll back off and I'll hit them with a Lightning Staff heavy attack while I'm backing off. Then I cast Drain Vigor. I go back to the Bone Shield, make sure that this is still going, because I sustain this all the time. That's the big thing. And then when their health gets below 50%, I'll hit them with... I'll start hitting them with Radiant Glory. But I'm still trying to sustain this. And also, I got to keep an eye on Flying Blade and Solar Barrage. When these two run out, I lose that 20% weapon and spell damage and the Empower. So I need to, at some point, go back to this back bar and at least cast one Flying Blade and one Solar Barrage to get that weapon and spell damage and Empower back. So usually what I do, if I'm fighting a boss, I need to recast those two abilities. I will cast a Spiked Bone Shield, switch back over here, cast my ultimate, the Flawless Dawnbreaker, which comes from the Fighters Guild ultimate from their skill line, because I'll get that bonus weapon and spell damage increase by 300 for 20 seconds, which is really, really good. So cast the Bone Shield, cast the Flawless Dawnbreaker, reactivate the Flying Blade and the Solar Barrage, go back over, recast the Spiked Bone Shield again, because this runs out every 6 seconds. So you want to cast this and keep this going at all times so you don't take any damage. Recast the Living Dark, throw out a heavy attack, recast Vampire's Bane, recast Spike Bone Shield, throw out a heavy attack, throw out Drain Vigor, and just keep doing that over and over and over again. Every time these two run out, you switch over here and you recast these two. If you have the Flawless Dawnbreaker alt again, cast that again. And that's the routine that I go through with this character all the time. I absolutely love the vampire skill line in this game. Really like a lot of the things. The reason that Mesmerize, the Stupefy morph of Mesmerize, the reason that I have this is when you're Vampire Stage 4, you can't talk to merchants and stuff. They're scared of you. But if you hit them with this Stupefy, they will let you trade with them after that point. So that's why this is unlocked as well. Just a little tip, another little tip for you guys. I usually put this on Vampire's Bane temporarily, like take Vampire's Bane off, put Stupefy here, so then I can walk up to the vendors and I can hit them with Stupefy and still be able to trade items with them and stuff. So just another little thing there. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the armor sets. We went with the Mighty Chuden's armor set. Gain Major Resolve at all times, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5948. I feel like that's also really, really nice to have. It'll reduce the amount of health that I'm losing. Because I'm a vampire, like I said, no health regeneration. So we're getting rid of that with Mighty Chuden's. We also have Gloomgraced. I love Gloomgraced. When you take damage, you become a living shadow for 10 seconds, causing you to heal for 1,559 every 2 seconds and gaining major evasion, reducing damage from area attacks by 20%. So when this activates, most of the time I'm trying to step out or dodge away from enemy attacks while using the Lightning Staff heavy attacks. So really, really nice armor set to have. And then finally, I went with Unfathomable Darkness. This overall is a set that you could probably switch out for something else. I just thought it was really, really cool looking. I like the fact that I get critical chance, a lot of offensive penetration, and weapon and spell damage, which is what I'm going for. Just like with my Sorcerer, the Lightning Staff heavy attack is where I'm trying to put as much damage as possible into. And so having that additional 127 weapon and spell damage, having the offensive penetration, having the critical chance, and then whenever you deal damage, you can call a murder of crows around you for 12 seconds. I really like that. the crows will go out every 3 seconds and attack the enemy that you're attacking. I really, really like it. So, but you can probably trade Unfathomable Darkness out for some other armor set that you like more for this type of build. I just went with it because I just really, really, really like it. So then finally, the champion points. I went with Master Gatherer and Treasure Hunter because I like when I get treasure chests to have the chance to get better loot from the treasure chests. And then I also went reduces the time it takes to harvest by 10%. Both of these are optional. You do not have to do these. I feel like, though, the most important thing is Rationer. You definitely want to have Rationer. Whatever food buff you're using, it's going to last 30 minutes longer. That's super important. And then as a new character, make sure you're getting the Seed's Blessing because your mount's going to be really slow at first. But this is mainly for like newer characters. I run it all the time because I don't like how slow some of my characters are. But it's also optional. You can pretty much do whatever you want in here. I feel like the only one that's really truly important is Rationer. Then we're going to go over here. Since this character is a DPS, I just wanted a stamina reduction in the cost of block, sprint, roll dodge, and break free. That was like mainly what I wanted, because that's mainly what I'm going to be using as a DPS. I'm not going to be like trying to constantly interrupt with like bash attacks and stuff like that, so I don't have to worry about that stuff so much. But you're going to want to get one of these two unlocked as soon as possible so that you can put points in either a Wind Chaser or Survivor's Spite to put some health or some points in here, which is nice. You get an increase to max health, but you're going to want to put points in here to get this as soon as possible. This is the first thing you're going for, because like my Sorcerer character, the number one priority is sustaining that shield. With my Sorcerer character, I try to sustain the shield immediately, whereas with this character, I don't get to the shield sustain for quite a few moves, but eventually when I do get there, I start to try and sustain that shield. So having the ability to reduce the cost of my damage shield, that's my most important thing. Then I put 50 points in rejuvenation for that 90 so this is a little bit different than Sorcerer. With Sorcerer, I did this because I wanted that 90 health regeneration increase, whereas with this character, I wanted the 90 magicka and stamina recovery. So still went with rejuvenation. And then with Fortified, I obviously want to take less health damage, as little as possible. So 50 points in Fortified. Then I came over here and I put 20 points into Bloody Renewal so that I could get that 600 stamina back every time I kill an enemy. So effectively what it does is I get 600 stamina when an enemy dies, and then I get 3,000 more stamina as soon as I use Repentance. So I'm getting stamina from killing the enemy, and then I'm getting more stamina from the enemy because the enemy's dead. It's a really good combination of the two abilities. And then I ended up going with this because this character is super slow. I did Hasty just to give him that little bit more, the 4% movement speed at all times, in combination with the Steed's Blessing, because this guy was very slow. Like I still don't like how slow he is. But finally, in here, very first thing you want to do is put that 10 points into Precision to unlock the Wrathful Strikes. Put all 50 points in Wrathful Strikes so that you're getting a bonus 205 weapon and spell damage. Then you're going to want to go in here into the Extended Might. Put 10 points in here to unlock the 50 for Weapons Expert. So plus 20% damage done with light and heavy attacks. Then you're going to go back out. You're going to go over here. You're going to get Untamed Aggression. Another 150 weapon and spell damage. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to put 25 points in here so you get plus 4% critical damage for your lightning staff heavy attacks. And then you're going to go back in here, and because like I said before, this character is a hybrid, he uses dual wield daggers and a lightning staff, I put 20 points in here and I put 20 points in here so that it's an increase to the martial status effect by 30% and an increase to the magical status effect by 30%. And then eventually I'm going to fill both of these in because both of these are going to give me plus 100% weapon and spell damage to my lightning staff and plus 100 weapon and spell damage to my daggers. So that's the next thing on my agenda, is to get both of these filled up, which is going to be a little while. Got to earn a lot of points, but that's where I'm going. I want that weapon and spell damage as high as I can possibly get it for this build. But yeah, that's it for my Vampire Templar. I just call him the Dark Templar. Hopefully this helps you guys out and you find it informative. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, laters.